Paula, welcome back to your Monday's broadcast. I'm Julie.
And I'm Denise. Now let's go see what Principal Nash has for us with Coffee Talk.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me here this morning.
No problem. So our first question today is, what's prom going to look like this year if we have one?
That's a great question. Still undecided, of course, in this time of pandemic. We're certainly at a place where we can't yet know where that is. But we're planning for full expectations of having an open prom the same as we always do, off campus with to be announced where. We like to let our ASB students hold that as long as they can and then kind of reveal it in one big fell swoop. So already booked, already reserved, already ready to go. If we can be there in person, we will be.
Great. And my second question is about getting more benches in the hallways for students to sit down and relax during lunch.
I think that's a really great question, and I think often students don't really understand the cost that's associated with that. So they're about $1,000 per bench, if that makes any sense to you. And we have already started to relocate benches across campus to make more available seating where students generally gather. Right now we've taken them out of that covered lunch area so that we can put some different seating in that space, a little bit more open and a little spread out because that was kind of a clustered area. So I think when students come back to campus, they'll be happy to see that benches are a little further spread out on campus.
My third and final question for you is about getting more water bottle refill stations around school.
Yeah, that's certainly in our future plans. We're working with the foundation to raise some funds specifically for that. There's also a water fountain that's over towards the student store that needs to be replaced, and so when it's replaced, it will be replaced with an upright station. However, during COVID, all water fountains are still off limits. Until we get the clearance from the county to have those common refilling stations, they'll remain closed even with students on campus.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Principal Nash.
Now let's go see what Trevor and Mikey have for us for this week's history.
What's up, Titans? I'm Trevor.
And I'm Mikey Knapp, and this is This Week in History.
On October 7th, 2003, Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected governor of California. He was one of 135 candidates. On October 5th, 2011, Steve Jobs died. He was the co-visionary of Apple Incorporated. On October 3rd, 1995, O.J. Simpson was acquitted of his charges.
On October 6th, 1926, baseball legend Babe Ruth became the first ever player to hit 3 home runs in a World Series game. October 5th, 1947, President Dwight D. Eisenhower delivered the first ever presidential address that was nationally televised. And lastly, on October 6th, 1993, basketball superstar Michael Jordan announced his first of 3 retirements.
And that's all for this week, Titans. Now back to the anchors.
Wow, I never knew that. Thanks, Trevor and Mikey.
Hey, have you seen any good movies during quarantine?
No, not really.
Let's go see what Charlotte and Connor recommend.
Hey Poway, it's Charlotte from your entertainment section, and today we're going to be going over this week's entertainment. And for this week's TV show on Netflix, we have a show called Love on the Spectrum, which is a reality/documentary talking about singles finding love on the autism spectrum.
Some girls don't feel like dating someone with disabilities.
It was too awkward.
Even though I'm on the spectrum, I'm capable of falling in love.
And for this week's movie on Hulu, we have Romeo and Juliet, the 1996 version starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes.
Thy name, and for thy name, which is no part of thee, take all myself.
I take thee at thy word.
And on to Connor.
For this week's latest releases in music, we have Bryson Tiller with his 3rd studio album, Anniversary. AC/DC also released a new single titled Shot in the Dark. 21 Savage and Metro Boomin also dropped their highly anticipated album titled Savage Mode 2. Joji released an album called Nectar. And lastly, Labyrinth dropped his single, No Ordinary. This week's throwback song is Dynamite by Teo Cruz.
Hands up in the air sometimes, saying, ayo, gotta let go.
Thanks for watching this week. Now back to the anchors.
Thanks, Charlotte and Connor. That was some great music. That's it for your Monday's broadcast, Titans. I'm Julie.
And I'm Denise.
Have a marvelous Monday.